Vastaamo is was a chain of psychotherapy clinics that was founded in 2008 in Finland, and their idea was to have this national chain of low barrier of entry psychotherapy clinics that people could go to get psychotherapy, basically. So they were operating 22 different locations in 9 years after they were founded, and they were bought in 2019 by outside investors with a pretty big price. I think it was to the tune of about 10 million or so. And they were running this business in Finland. They had over 200 therapists working for them, and of course, as a result, saw a lot of patients. But in October 2021, it became public that they had been breached. And they had been storing all of their patient records, including therapists' notes, like written notes that they make of every appointment, as required by law, because your therapist might change, but the notes will follow you so that you can continue the work with the new therapist. But they were breached, and an attacker started publicly extorting them for money. And they said that they had in their possession the therapeutic patient records of over 30,000 Finnish people, which turned out to be true later on. So
Jesus.
There was a lot of stuff happening in the public because the attacker was communicating in the public. So they started first releasing 100 patient records every day just to put pressure on Vastaamo to pay them, but they didn't budge.
How much did they want?
I think it was something like €500,000.
Why don't you just pay him? That's not that much.
Well, yeah, that's a good question. Well, then it comes down to the same question that a lot of ransomware victims are going to ask themselves: that should we pay? And I think.
Oh, we don't negotiate with terrorists.
Yeah. There's the old Bush attitude. I think we're not going to negotiate with an attacker like this because there's no guarantee that they will be good to their promise. So they get $500,000 from you, and then they ask for $500,000 more, or 2 million, or whatever. So the safest bet there is just not to negotiate with them and just go to the police. The only long-term solution to this kind of criminality is to never pay, even though it might be a good short-term solution, but then again, you're dealing with somebody that you ultimately can't even begin to trust. And I think on the 4th day, the attackers made a mistake. And instead of packaging 100 patient files and putting that online for people to download and stare at, they actually accidentally packaged their home folder from the attacker's server, which meant that they released a bunch of data that they were not supposed to release, including all the patient files. And a bunch of people were able to download a copy of that file and go through its contents, and somebody got a hold of all the patient records, and in a extremely psychopathic move, created a search engine that you can actually go to that's on the Tor network and search those patient records. This turned out to be, by the numbers, the biggest criminal case in Finland. 27,000 criminal complaints were filed to the Helsinki Police Department on this issue, and actually I'm not sure if it was the Helsinki PD or what, but the police received 27,000 complaints, and I think the total net gain for the attacker was a few thousand euros. So amazingly small amount of money made with this really, really big attack against, well, not even a company and not even a patient, but even just it was an attack against trust towards digital systems, I think, in general. And we're still, every cybersecurity lecture or presentation starts with an example of Vastaamo and saying that how we are avoiding this. So at least it brought a lot of attention to the healthcare systems and their cybersecurity and how to protect them. Because in this situation, it was just, I don't know the details. I didn't do the criminal investigation or even the civil litigation. I just did the technical part. I didn't even do that personally. My team did that, but I was the head of investigation. So I know exactly what happened on the server, but I don't know what the people were thinking. I haven't interviewed anyone or would even like to. So that's somebody else's job. So I won't speculate on motives or who's guilty or who did what. That's outside the scope. But what I know is that the impact has been pretty big, because it really raised the barrier of Finns to go into therapy, and the barrier was already pretty high with the national mindset of if you talk about your problems, then that's a sign of weakness. So you just shut up and bear with it, and maybe get drunk every once in a while and stare out at the lake. Seems to be the favorite method of dealing with your issues.